Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. These episodes are short, and if they work as intended, perhaps keep you thinking. And in full disclosure, I will admit they are laced with a fair amount of tough love to the SEO industry. I do sometimes insert SEO principles directly into these short audio essays, but my full intention is for every episode to highlight a portion of the human side of SEO. Welcome to Confessions. This is 2024 Mountain Edition. I'm coming to you from the Green Mountains in Vermont on this 9th episode of the summer. Today's show is a little bit of a confession. I went down a rabbit hole looking for a topic this week, and well, it turned into a treasure hunt. And I just hope I can get to sleep tonight. It's tantalizingly intriguing. Now I'm going to start with a reminder that I have written up I have written up on the canonical issue where jump links are concerned, no matter how they're created. If Google gets a hold of these types of URLs and indexes them, a site will eventually fall victim to the helpful content system. Because you have to understand this. The principle here is duplicate content is not helpful content in Google's eyes. It has nothing to do with what people do when they come to your site. It has to do with what Google thinks is helpful content, or in this case, not helpful content. So if you have these types of URLs on your site and Google starts to index them and starts to continue to index them, Google will suppress all those pages until the site is literally not getting any oxygen. There's very little serving of the content by the keywords. There's less impressions and likely no money. Put a pin in that because it is going to relate to today's topic. And if you want to read my write-up on what I just talked about, you can find it it'll be a non-secure version, http://carolyn.digital. And if you're feeling generous, you can make a donation to support this kind of research. Back to today's topic. I like keeping notes. One way I do that is I save Facebook postings where people share weird and bizarre Google things. And I was going through the list today and I found a posting from this past January. When I read it to you, what they said, if you've heard of any of this year's episodes, you'll probably understand what sort of grabbed me by the throat. They posted a screenshot from Search Console with the description, despite all our canonicals being set, Google is selecting spammy pharma sites as the canonical for our content. Boing! So I can't stop there. I start reading the comments. And Bill Hartzer commented that it looked like the negative SEO canonical that supposedly Google fixed. Now, at this point, I'm feeling like a Geiger counter going off. Chris Semper of the Link Research Tools software developer, he bounced back and he goes, he didn't think Google had fixed it. Well, now I'm beginning to feel like I missed a really good party. So I have to find out a little bit more because what is this negative SEO canonical exploit? Now, I guess whenever we're talking about something, I know the adage is follow the money. Particular exploit, it was a way, it came to fame, that a competitor could harm the rankings of another competitor without that innocent bystander having any way to even, get the license plate of the truck that ran over their site. Now, the trick was achieved through a misuse of the canonical tag, where Google started, because of this misuse, started to associate the innocent competitor's site with the harmful sites that the other sort of more nefarious competitor had created. This exploitation mechanism was that these attackers would create numerous low-quality sites or spam sites. So let's call that, I'm going to switch the thing. Let's call that site A, okay? So they created them. These are all these lots and lots and lots of sites. On these sites, they placed canonical tags pointing to pages on their competitor site, and that's going to be site B. Then they begin to make Google aware of all of this, and Google begins to demote that innocent site B because through this particular exploit, Google thought site B was related to these really low quality, crappy, dangerous sites. You might think like, that's bad. And here's the weird thing. When the attacked site, the owner or the SEO company that was in charge, logged into their search console, they could see their pages were no longer being served because despite the canonical that they had set on their own page, somehow Google found a duplicate, which was effectively a cross-site canonical, meaning it wasn't the same site as the one that was attacked. These were the spammy sites. Ouch. I've actually heard that described at an SEO conference, and it was one of those things where it was not a nice thing that people would do to each other. But obviously, right, follow the money. Some people have no ethics, and they go ahead and try and do this. Yeah, I think I was a bit judgy there. I did find a Search Engine Journal article from 2018. I'll put the URL in the description. Now, during all this time, people were trying to make Google aware of what was going on. And they gave the impression of being pretty indifferent to the idea that this was even happening. You know, that somehow there was a way to connect two sites that were not related to each other using Google itself to forge this association. John Mueller was like, the rel canonical has been around for over a decade. People have tried a lot of things with it. It's a signal for canonicalization. One URL wins, the other crawls get dropped. While I was reading that particular article, it told me another thing that I hadn't known was associated with this, and it was called the XML sitemap exploit, which is what this is based on. And the people who were writing this article, they kind of put paid to John Mueller's comments because that was not, the way John described it, was not what was happening. John said this is how things are working, but someone else was pointing to a reality that it was not. Now you can sense that things are starting to get a little electrified. It was a total burn on Mueller. Through that article, I find this second article that also from 2018 that described the Google XML sitemap bug. Okay, so it wasn't really I guess it was a bug that got exploited. And it was talking about a way to ping Google without going through Google Search Console or anything official. You didn't have to be logged in. It was a search string that they would add a sitemap file to it to be pinged, and Google would just run with that. It was a sitemap that was comprised of URLs, but these URLs were special. And they were, and I've seen this a couple of times, they were what we call open redirects. So what would happen is with this string, you pinged Google, popped in your sitemap, and it would go. The sitemap would be crawled, or you could add in the individual URLs of the sitemap. It wasn't one or the other. And the ones that were the direct URLs, they would forward over. So Google, when it got this sitemap, they looked at the URL of the sitemap and the URLs in the sitemap. They saw that they matched. And so Google's like, come on right in. And Google crawled that sitemap. You know, Google got all those new URLs that were those open redirects. And this is when site A started redirecting to site B, and Google started to associate badness. The sending site was associated with the site that they were trying to harm, the site that was being attacked. I've said this before, but I'm kind of describing a little further, like the mechanism itself, how it worked. Now, the guy who wrote this article before the exploit was fixed, so they say, proved his point because he was able to get a new site to rank like less than a week old. And well, let me just quote him because this was terrific. And I'll put the URL in there. And it was for the $12 cost of a domain. I was able to rank in Google search results against Amazon, Walmart, etc. for high value money terms in the US. He's actually in the UK. The AdWords bid price for some of these terms is currently around $1 per click, and companies are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month to appear on ads on these search results, and I was appearing for free. Google has now fixed the issue and awarded a bug bounty of $5,000. And here's the cool part, because he went on. He said, Google provides an open URL where you can ping an XML sitemap, which they will fetch and parse. This file can contain indexation directives. I discovered that for many sites, it was possible to ping a sitemap that you, the attacker, are hosting in such a way that Google will trust the evil sitemap as belonging to the victim site. I believe this is the first time they've awarded a bounty for a security issue in the actual search engine, which directly affects the rankings of sites. So if you're like me, you're probably thinking, hot dang, Carolyn, share the freaking URL. Okay. So if you want to, go to google.com/ping. Oh, that was a little too easy, was it not? So if you do that, if you go to google.com/ping, you will see an H1 tag that reads sitemaps ping is deprecated. It tells you where to go, which developer document to look at. And at this point, I'm feeling a little bit like I've been on a goose chase. Ever done one of those? I mean, they are literally one of the few things that means exactly what you think it means when you use it in a sentence. I went to the developer page. It says there, Monday, June 26, 2023, the sitemaps ping endpoint deprecation is complete. The exploit is closed. We can't do that anymore. But something about that date, June 26, 2023, the summer of 2023, that had a familiar ring to it. Something did happen in June 2023 between the dates of June 21st to July 14th. And this is noted on the Search Console dashboard. And this part is hugely important to the discussion. The incident wasn't fully acknowledged by Google until July 10th. The publishers that this affected, they started feeling it on June 21st. It took, and they were complaining actively to Google, and it took Google until July 10th to say, I think you're right. You have a problem. Now, many publishers were alarmed because their source content was not being served to readers on Google. Ultimately, it had to do with the RSS feeds being used by the partners of these enterprise news sites. They would share their RSS feed, knowing that these partners were going to use their content. And within those RSS feeds, the enterprise sites, that the original source publishers, used their own canonicals, the ones who had provided the RSS feed. So what happened was, in this case, during that time frame, that the partner sites were all of a sudden ranking for all this new content. And enterprise sites, the ones that had provided it, that had paid people to write it, that they had put in their RSS feeds, their versions of those stories was no longer being served in Google News. It would seem, in a weird way, what happened last June was almost a reverse of the original negative SEO canonical. So in this case, I'm trying to figure out who's site A and who's site B. I feel like the guys in God, what was that called? I'll think of it. So site A, the partner site, they used an RSS feed where the canonical was that of site B, the enterprise news sites. So this was a cross-site canonical on the partner site that was served. But as a result, Google took out the original content provider's content. So you're with me here, right? Both of these things happened in June 2023. The Google ping was removed, and not quite sure exactly how this was applied, but likely there might have been some corrective action that was applied to any type of cross-site canonical. It would appear that unintentionally, this fix, so that the negative SEO canonical wasn't a thing anymore, it kind of created an issue with news sites at the same time. Now you're probably with me that how we have now come full circle. The canonical has been a problem at least since June of 2023. That was also the timeline when the Google ping was decommissioned and news sites' content was smoked due to their canonical being in the RSS feed, which created a cross-site Canonical situation. By the way, Google told the enterprise publishers, remove your Canonical from the RSS feed and convince your partners to set their pages to no index. Here we are. The Canonical has been a problem. And it makes sense that, remember, if you get the write-up on the Canonical, I break all this down and walk everybody through what the data showed and the performance of these sites and what outside events were happening around the same time. And I feel like I've accidentally uncovered additional validation to my conclusions, which are based on data and performance. And the players in this problem are coming into focus. The pieces are fitting in together. I feel like this is where I should insert an evil laugh. But that's it for me this week. Remember, forensic SEO is what you do when you've done everything you can think of and nothing changes. Make sure if you need anything, you can reach out and we can talk about it. To stay on the cutting edge of the state of indexing and updates and everything in between, check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. You can get a free account. Paid members have the entirety of my observations and conclusions based on data. Thank you for being a listener. If you have any questions or topic ideas, I want to hear from you. You can text Confessions at 512-222-3132. Thanks again. And until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.